Well, it looks like Trump doesn't want to turn in or declassify the Democrats' memo, the sort of rebuttal to the Republicans. Republicans wasn't memo wasn't really based on actual facts, um, and the Democrats are. The first thing is, I think the Democrats knew they weren't going to read the whole thing. Second of all, most of Trump people did not clear. They, they don't they can't get clearance to secret documents anyway. So there's probably a lot of black out. But the main thing that it probably does state in there that Trump has they have been looking into Trump for a while for his business deals with the Russian mafia, starting with and probably just before he started Miss America in Russia and the associates that he had with them that were also in the Russian mafia that are already were and are still being monitored. And so, like, if they get him on the what is it? The same thing they got Al Capone. I still can't think of the name of it. But it's where tax evasion. Trump's already stated that that he's very smart because he doesn't pay his taxes. When they had a debate, when he had a debate with Hillary, rather, he was very braggadocious about not paying his taxes and how that made him very smart. So they could have him, which would be the state. And he's been, like in the state of New York, New Jersey, Florida, and anyway. And then they have the Emmanuel Clause, where he violated that part of the Constitution by still having his place in Florida, the golf club down there, having the hotel in Washington D.C. and Trump Towers, still, and a few other businesses that he has that he's proffering off of from being president. So that's like, so like the one with the state, it doesn't matter if he is president or not president. They could see they could he cannot he doesn't have any immunity for that. You know he could still he'll they could still try him. He legally the states could still prosecute him for crimes that he done and is still doing. Now the other one, the Emmanuel Clause, you really need the Republicans behind him. And then there's the thing where the Russians interfered with our elections by hacking a few choice states, and taking advantage. Really, the Russians just take advantage of a big loophole that we have, is that we have some white racist people that don't like other type of people, even though they might be American. So they're attacking them. And a very common thing to do. The only thing is, I think that what the Republicans, what Putin, or well, maybe not Putin, but other spies underneath him. Okay, we won't call them spies. We'll call them mobsters. But anyway, Putin people, um, um, even some even some Chinese people. Um, I lost my chain of thought. Sorry, but they all have been associated with Trump in doing a lot of business. Trump has been doing a lot of business. There's statements that have been taken from other people. You know, and then you have the laundering of the money for and that's one of the reasons why supposedly the Russian mafia is bothering with Trump in the first place. In the second place, he's easy to blackmail and embezzle. And you could see that he tries that blackmailing, like, like whatever was done to him, he's like, that's what he's learned. That's what he does to other people, opposed to, if he was a real fighter, he would, he would recognize, learn what those people do. That doesn't mean you have to do as those people. This is not a Bugs Bunny cartoon. You can't beat them, join them. No, it's not that mentality. It's a mentality. Yeah, sure, you should learn from what your enemies do. That doesn't mean you have to do as your enemies, because they would be expecting that. So it's not a very good military plot or maneuver. So you might do something different, but everybody has their weaknesses, and that's what a lot of cons like Trump that play up on. That's how a lot of racist people get away with that. You play up on people's weakness. You know, uh, they're if they're perverted, you could play up on that. If they're greedy, you could play up on that. If they're jealous, you could play up on that. Eh, so theoretically, um, I think with the Trump and the Republicans running the government in such a chaos, conflicting type of rhetoric, like type, it's like a lot of conflict. It's chaos. It's uh, putting two groups, always having a conflict with somebody else, always thinking somebody else is out to get you. Uh, um, and that nobody like like Trump doesn't think any of the Democrats is there to benefit the citizen in America, because it's not in his best benefit. So therefore, he thinks you're against him. Opposed to that, you're looking at a bigger picture. His world has been very small, very, you know, they're very hateful. Anyway, so like so far, that's like three things that they would have him on. One is, I guess, this is called the Reno Act, where like with Al Capone, where they didn't pay his taxes. Uh, Two, the Emmanuel clause, um, where he's he's proper. He's making money off of being a president. That's against the Constitution. Um, the other one where um, he's into laundering money with the mafia. It goes along with racketeering, but it'd be a separate and different case from not paying your taxes, laundering money through his businesses. You know, his golf course, his hotels, his apartment buildings, his um, Trump Steaks, his Trump University, all these, his casino. He also, with the casino, they also, I think they fined him for racketeering, one of the biggest fines there was. So, and then you have the thing of, does he have dementia? He's been very sexually active, especially with a lot of prostitutes from Russia, and they're noted to have, just like any other prostitute, any other place in the world, a certain amount of community sexually transmitted diseases, which could be syphilis. And because of a lot of studies that they had did on syphilis, matter of fact, I think the better studies is what, like the Japanese, even though there's not really a study. It was before, they just left black people in the United States just to, have syphilis. But like, but like it's blindness, because it's like a little, but anyway, and one of the main things because of his dementia and Alzheimer's, sort of, all of that, goes along with that. And it shows up 50 years after you got it. So, like, for example, if you got it when you were 10, when you're 60, if you got it when you're like 16, it'll be like, when you're 66, it'll be 50 years later that you would show signs, and they die a lot. Dehydrated. So anyway, so that mean that'll be the 25th Amendment. That's like four things. There's literally, I think I counted seven. Oh, and then him interfering um, with the FBI investigation. Anyway, so yeah, he don't want that paper out because the paper's just going to state the facts that are already, you know, um, I think most of it's been documented since 1996. Um, so like them worrying about the British guy or worrying about whoever else, um, every country, or I don't know if every country, but approximately like I think at least like 35 countries do have a bunch of information on um, Trump, Putin, and a lot of other people that they have associated with in the world. In the Middle East, he's been very busy. And his sons have a big mouth. Trump has a big mouth. And they know he's easy to blackmail. Oh, that's what I was alluding to. I digress. That Trump's playing that same game, like I'm going to close down the White House if you don't do what I want. The same thing, try to, uh, uh, you know, uh, blackmail and embezzle his way in the White House to do stuff. I think right now he has a, you know, race, being very racist makes him very weak. I seen somewhere today, it's like I turned on the computer and they're talking about, oh, black people's IQ's less. Well, then that's not true because we invented the science, we invented the math. That's why you're afraid of the Arabs in the Middle East. If they would stop raping each other and going to war on each other, they just like in Africa, we were the scientists. Y'all think you know everything, but you know it in a such a way that is destructive. You know, there's nothing. I've always told there's nothing new in the world. The people that worship the sun for the power of the sun. Being able, they understood magnets and copper. They understood how to make electricity. I remember, I was reading something about Tulsa, not Tulsa. What's his name with the wireless when they were going into wireless, and um, they destroyed the man's because they destroyed the whole man and everything. They had to, I mean, it's not like once you burn up the stuff and steal other stuff, that's not good enough. So, but anyway, the thing is, they were like, how are we gonna get paid? How are we gonna get paid? They had to have wires coming into the house. They couldn't figure out how else how are you gonna put a meter? That was what it was. Can't put a meter on it. So, with the ticker teller tapes that they used to use for the stock market, that was like wireless. They were sending information wireless before. Anyway, so there's really nothing really new in the world. There are people that are new in the world. Um, uh, it's funny because like they were like one of the other things they were saying, you don't have fathers that pass on the information. You have fathers now that like I hear on TV like, oh, they got to hang out with their boys, football, and you got to have a man cave, and all this that separates them from interacting with their family. Because if you're already working, right, then you have a chick on your side, and then you got to just hang out by yourself in your man cave. This is just time that you're not hanging out with your kids. And usually when they do hang out with their kids, like it's not like it's not like organic type of learning situation where the kids following them around while the father's like rebuilding an engine like they might have been doing in the old days, or adding on an extra room, or redoing a bathroom, where where the kids can observe, and by observing they learn, you know. And plus there's interaction. And then there's going to be conversations like, teaching them how to measure. It's like, just measure it twice. We're only going to cut once. These type of things come up. Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. These are, little things that, that they, and then there's other little things that, that don't have to do with, just your self gratification, like sports, sex, stuff like that, playing video games, by yourself. These are not really interactive things. They do have video games where you can be interactive, I guess, with other people. But I don't really I'm not I find that I'm not like, a very sociable person especially as I get older, more so when I was younger. And there's a lot of reasons, and a lot of them is that I am in the South. We do have people with the mentality like Trump, like Paul Ryan, and it makes it for. Well, let me put this way. I'm going to predict there's going to be a lot more Caucasian people shooting, because now they have somebody that speaks their language in the White House. This hostile, language where, and I'm not saying that white people are inferior. I'm saying that sometimes when it comes to learning something, that they fight back hard on it, and I think if they want to go back to what they want to call the good old days, where there's a different type of war, civil war, whatever, I think that they would probably lose. I think that Trump and Republicans and their white croonies and national racists have badmouthed Mexico. Mexico right down here. You can't even get along with Canada. Canadians, like, they easy people. Hey, whatever. They seem very polite, at least when I've been around them. So you got problems with Canadians. You got problem with North Korea. Yeah, you got problems with Britain. Nobody really over in the Europe respects him at all. Women really don't respect him. I think his whole life he's what a lot of men do. They misunderstand, thinking, oh well, I'm happy. As long as I get sex, I'm good. Bitch, come cook my food. And the women don't give a fuck about you. After you cannot care for somebody that won't let you. It's too busy. It's all about them. There's just no room for anybody else. So anyway, Trump is not going to let that memo out, because the memo tells why he's under investigation. And one of the things is he's not, I'm saying, the biggest thing a racist person wants to do is, point your finger at somebody else. Oh, well, it wasn't my daddy that raped me and he made me have this little white baby. It was those 4 black men that been raping. I remember I was in Kansas, like the first 5 years. Every time I would meet like somebody, they'd be like they're trying to explain to me why they're racist, and it was always they had got raped by 4 guys. And I remember this one girl goes, I told you that, and you just get up and you're like, again. And I got up and I left. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know. You would think by now they would have caught those 4 black people that's been raping you. It's like, it's always was 4 of them. It couldn't be 1 or 2. But I know they're full of shit. First of all, the babies they're just full of shit. Because in another moment, you give them two more shots, and the next thing, motherfuckers are gonna tell you how their parents do them. Anyway, all I want to say is that we're in a. I'm confused. I don't know what the Republicans are representing. Who, I don't know. Well, elections are coming up here. I believe it's like November the 6th. This um, or whatever the second Tuesday is. We're gonna have to come out and really vote. I'm glad to see new people going out there running for people. I mean, running for election because right now, um, we just don't have people that are really representing the best interests of the citizens of America. We see that they have the best interests of the people, of the lobbyists, of the business and the corporation, but not of the citizens. And that's a big conflict. And it's a big conflict if we're going to keep our Constitution. So we're going to have no choice but to vote the Republicans out because if we don't, that's the end of America as we know it. And because America was never meant just for a white man. The white man probably wants it that way, but they never been able to pull it off because of such the narcissistic, hateful, deviant ways that they have. You know, it's all in their mentality, and you can see the mentality of Trump. You can see the mentality that a lot of racist Republicans have. Nobody's new to this shit, you know, and you know, the only thing good about it is that they so fucking paranoid. They're liable to But we'll see. We'll see. I think the FBI, if they play their cards right, could come out as great big heroes and save the Constitution by prosecuting people that do treason, traitor acts, and undermine the security of the United States, as Trump has done and is doing.